Well, I started on this already before I realized that I needed to make a video. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I've already done. The first thing we did was we took the air box off. The air box sits right here and connects to this hose here. The next thing I did is I took the motor mount off. That's what this is, and it goes right here. You have 3 bolts in the top of the motor, and then you also have a bolt that goes in there, and then 2 nuts, one that goes on that post and one that goes on that post. And that's what holds the motor in place to keep it from moving when you drive. What I'm doing is I've done loosened the tensioner. I took the tensioner, you put a 13mm bolt on it, and you put a ratchet on it, and you push it towards the back of the car, and it releases the tension on the belt. So I've taken the drive belt off, and then we have the pulley, which this is the water pump pulley. The water pump pulley bolts to the front of the water pump right there. It has 3 T40 bolts in it, and then these are all T40s as well. These are all called, some people call them inverted Torx, but that's not the exact name for it. Now what I've already done is I've already loosened up these bolts, and what I want to have is there's going to be a lot of antifreeze flow out because this car does not have a drain on the radiator. So I'm going to be draining. I could disconnect this hose right here. I could disconnect that hose right there and let it drain. It would only drain it halfway, but I'm not going to worry about it. I've got a pan underneath it. What you do is once you take the motor mount off, before you get it totally unbolted from the car, you have to support it. I have a jack that's going underneath the car and has a wood block on it that is holding the motor up. So what I did is I jacked it up until it put just a little bit of pressure on it, and then I went ahead and took the motor mount off. Once I got the motor mount loosened up and off, I took it and jacked it the rest of the way up to where I could get this water pump to be able to be clear right here, because it will not come out if you do not raise it up far enough. Alright, so I got 5 bolts to take out of it, and I'm going to move my bolt tray over here because I'm having to spin around a lot, and you can see a lot of my garage. I don't want nobody to see. So I got my bolt tray. I always have a magnetic bolt tray with you, so that way you can keep all your parts with you and you don't lose them, drop them. And it's always handy to have a extendable magnetic wand so that you can, now that's the dirty one there. That's the one that's leaking. Ugh, yeah, he's leaking. So let me get my socket, because and I'll show you what an inverted Torx is. The inverted Torx looks like a socket, except the Torx is on the inside. Whereas the bolts that go into the water pump pulley are the external Torx, which the Torx is on the outside. So, and these tools are very, very handy. General Motors in general, GM, Chevy, they are notorious for having water pumps that you have to raise the motor up to get to them on a side-facing engine. And simply because of the fact that they've done this for years. I know back in the 90s they had started putting in the side engines, and that's what they did. They made it so that you had to raise the motor up to get the water pump out, which I think is kind of stupid, but I'm not the design engineer. You can see how dirty this is. You can see how nasty it is compared to the others. And it is actually where the leak was at. Now when I do this, there's going to be a whole lot of antifreeze come out. Big blob of antifreeze. Like I said, it doesn't have a drain on it, so can't get to that one. So it doesn't have oh! Yeah, that's not good. Actually, that's not bad. I'll just have to go underneath the car and find it. But let me see if I can get this bolt without it. Oh yeah, I can get it. It's just gonna be a little bit harder on my hands. Let me go down here and see. You'll see, I got a pan for the liquid. It's gonna come out. I've got, okay. So, it's up under this cover somewhere. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna go to my toolbox and I am going to get my magnet. I should have 3 or 4 of them. I have a really nice one that my wife bought me years ago. And I'm going to tell you what, it is amazing. And I keep it stored up here, at the very top of my toolbox, because I'm short. Well, now I'm looking like a fool. Pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. Let me see what else I got in here. Let me see if it didn't get put in the wrong place, which is always a good possibility, because my sons come over and borrow my tools. My father-in-law comes over and borrows my tools. Matter of fact, I might have loaned it to him. That's weird. There it is. It was in the wrong drawer. This is a magnetic. Let's see, do they have a name on it? No, it is a magnetic retrieval tool. And it actually has a light in the middle of it, an LED light, so that you can see what you're trying to reach. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use it because I left it on and ran the battery down. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to set my phone down. It extends out. I might just shorten it a little bit. Uh-oh, it does not seem like it is down here now. Oh, snap, it must be on the ground. Oh, that's gonna be bad. That's gonna be bad. Not really, but yeah, really. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop the video and I'm gonna go look, and then I will get back to it. Okay, I'm back to it, and look what I found. Like I said, a magnetic tool is an awesome thing to have. It had actually put itself in a spot where I wasn't expecting it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and get on this boat because I was trying to get it off there. Okay, there goes my antifreeze leaking out. Is it getting in my pan? Barely. Oh, there goes a whole lot of it. Yep. Oh, it's missing the pan all the way around. Oh, well. Better on the garage than the freaking ground, I guess. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. When you see that, that's bad. It's alright. I ain't worried about it. Because what I'll do is I have tons and tons of rags to keep me from walking through it. This is just nasty. And I don't think I have any oil dry. Oh man. Guess I gotta go to the store and buy some oil dry. Alright, well, I'm gonna go ahead and tear this off of here. Get this water pump out of here now that I've got the antifreeze all drained. Yeah, now that I have my antifreeze drained, I'm gonna go ahead and get the water pump out, get the new water pump in, and then I'll deal with the mess. That's another thing you need to make sure that you have in your garage. is oil dry. Make sure you always have a bag of oil dry, because you never know when something like this is going to happen. I was anticipating on it happening, but I was not anticipating on it missing the pan as badly as it did. But that's poor design on their part, so. Oh my gosh, just one screw is just acting like it doesn't want to come out at all. Oh. But when it does, it's going to be amazing. Oh. The only reason I'm doing it by hand is because of the fact that I don't have any, I do not have any, what do I want to say here? I don't have any, I don't have any, space to do it with a ratchet. I'm going to set the phone down just a little bit. And there goes my light to the floor. That's the bad thing about this. These little cars don't have nowhere for anything to sit. So it's like you gotta do the best you can. Oh. I don't have no oil dry. So I'm gonna do the best I can with this. Oh, there we go. Alright. After I got that last bolt out, here comes the water pump. And this is the water pump. And he was leaking right there. That's an indication of a leak. You see all that build up? So we're going to replace him with another one. That's your impeller. That's what sends the water. It spins and sends the water flying. It's just like a fire department pump. Alright, let me find me another rag for my hand. Always have a ton of rags. That's always good to have. Now what I'm going to do is there's a little rubber gasket. This little rubber gasket needs to be removed, and you just throw it away. Yeah, it'll be alright. I'll pick it up. Then you take a rag. Preferably you'll have 2 or 3 of them. And you'll clean around where the gasket goes. And if you want to see the inside, there's the inside of what the water pump does. The water comes in over here, comes in from right there, and then it spins it up and throws it through there. Actually, it comes through there and spins it up and throws it out that way. But alright, I gotta do some cleaning on this, so I will come back in a minute. So, as you can see, I cleaned it up. I used emery cloth to get the surface cleaned up so that the gasket that's on the back of the water pump will fit and seal tight. And now I'm going to go over here to the water pump. This is my water pump. And this is the gasket. Alright, I'm going to set that there. Tear open this gasket bag. Get the gasket out. As you can see, the pump has got a little groove in it, and that is what the gasket goes into. Alright. This is hard to do, bear with me. I'm doing it with one hand so that you can see what I'm doing. And there we go. It has a flat spot on it. Flat spot goes to the inside. Now, if you wanted to, you could actually, if that's going to fall out on you, which it shouldn't, but a lot of times they will. See, like that one just did. You can actually take a little bit of sealing compound. Now I'm going to go over to my toolbox and get some. Let's see what's in this one. Let me go get it. The stuff that I'm going to be using is called Super Blue. It is made for water pumps. So what I'll do is I'm going to apply just a few little dabs of Super Blue in places so that way it will hold my gasket in place. So I have just a little bit here and a little bit here, and I'm going to take a rag and I'm going to get these smoothed around so that I don't have all of that big glob of stuff there. And then I'll take my gasket now. Then, like I said, I've got this Super Blue, and basically that's just RTV for water pumps. And I kind of stuck a couple drops there and smoothed it around so that way I could get the water pump gasket to stick in place while I put the water pump in. I'm going to put the lid back on the RTV because it will harden up, and then you'll have a tube of nothing. Okay, so we're going to try this again and see if it falls out on me. And as you can see, it is not falling out on me. I've got my water pump in place. You always want to get a top screw in first, because what will happen is the water pump's going to want to move on you. So if you get it in, and like I said, I'm doing this because I can't really hold that screw. Now my water pump's held in place. Now I can put the rest of the screws in. So I'll go ahead and get them out of there. Get them put in. I have to make sure that they're straight though, because if they're not straight, and what I've done is I moved that one bolt. I always move the one bolt that was on the bottom. I rotate them around so that way I get a good thread in there, because that other bolt was dirty. I cleaned it up when I was cleaning the rest of my bolts up. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. This one's number 4, and I'll have one more after this. And there he is. So now I have 2 really clean bolts on the bottom, so that way the threads are going to be good. And again, this is on the 1.8 liter 2015 Chevy Sonic LT. A lot of videos you see, they are doing the 1.4 liter, and on the 1.4 liter, the water pump actually sits underneath here, underneath this right here on the motor, and you have to take this all off. But it's a lot bigger water pump. So now that I've got those on there, I'm going to go ahead and take my inverted Torx and tighten these up a little bit. Get them hand tight before I torque them. You're going to want to torque them in a star pattern, and I will show you what that is. And if there's anybody out there watching this that thinks that I'm talking like I'm talking to a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, I am making this video for 1, my grandson, and 2, a friend of mine's son. But I've decided that there's not a video like this on on YouTube, so and all I'm doing here is just finger tightening all the bolts up so that I can get it to where I can just tighten it with the ratchet, and it won't take me but a minute. Alright, I got my ratchet here. I'm going to go ahead and put this on that. Make sure it's going the right direction. There's that one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the one on the bottom, on the front, and I'm going to tighten it up. And I'm going to go to this one. And the reason that you do this is so that you don't crack the housing, because if you torque it in the wrong way, what you're going to wind up with is a damaged case. And this is the one that's going to be the biggest issue because it's on the very, very bottom. And then we get the last one. And see, I pulled it in so tight that now I have to finger tighten this one in order to get the ratchet to work. And then what I'll do is I will go back around them again. Oh, get on there. Again, like I said, I'm going back around it, just snugging them down to make sure that they are snugged enough. Because if it leaks, we'll have to take it back apart. And what I'll probably wind up doing is because I don't like those little rubber gaskets that they put in there, I will probably double seal it with RTV to make sure that it does not leak. I think that was tight enough, but I'm going to double check. Alright, I'm going to leave it right there. And now, oh, the next thing I got to put on it is my pulley. I'm also going to take some brake clean, and I'm going to spray down here and clean all of this antifreeze off around this motor and off the belt, because I don't want the belt squealing. The reason that I use brake clean is because of the fact that it dries and carries all the contaminants away. So now I'm going to get my pulley, and as I said, the pulley goes on like this. One thing you have to make sure you do, though, is know where your bolt holes are, because yeah, that could be a bad thing, because then you'll have to just fight the bolt holes. Little bitty bolts, and this is a external Torx bit. And I got it first time. That's awesome. That always makes you feel good when you get the bolts in there the first time. And again, here's another one. And again, here's another one. Alright. What I do to hold this belt and hold this in place to tighten these bolts is I actually, let me find my bit for it, because there's this one. What do I do with it? Should be, there it is right there. I'll try to get them hand tight before I throw a ratchet on them, so that way I don't have to put as much torque on them. But these have got Loctite on them, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the belt back on it. So I'm going to put the belt back on the pulley, and I'm going to have to get my tool for that. Okay, that's this tool right here. This is has a special socket on it, and it's just a long bar, and what you do with it is you place it on the bolt, you push back, and voila. Okay, now then, all that belt's doing is going to hold that pulley for me while I try to tighten these. So I'm going to get my socket. Okay, so you see I can't get it to go in, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pull it back and go at it again. And I'm just going to have to rotate it around so that it gets between, so that my ratchet can actually get between here. So I had to rotate it around so it was on the top. And this is a long video because I'm taking my time, making sure that I'm doing it right. Oh snap. Looks like I need to buy a new bit. Looks like my flashlight's falling again. I'll use this to push it out of the way, or actually I may be able. Yep, there it is. It's on the ground. Very good. Alright, so Alright, so I'm going to end this, but what I'm going to do is tighten these other two bolts up, and then I'm going to put the mount back on, the box back on, and then we'll be done, and I'll show you the finished product. Alright, so now I have the motor mount back on, as you can see under there. I have the the air filter box back on, and I've got the hose I'm putting on now. You have to line it up with that notch in there. You'll tighten it up with the screwdriver. And what you're going to have to do is this electrical plug had to be unplugged from here. That is for the mass airflow sensor. Plug it back up, and then underneath it you'll see this red tab. Push that red tab in. That locks it in place and it will not come off. Alright, well, in a minute I'm going to start this bad boy up. So we'll get started here in just a second.